In choosing the right room for your mother in a dementia unit, there are 3 things to take into consideration. Assuming your mother is in her early 80s, she has Alzheimer's dementia, her mobility is becoming more restricted and she's on a walker, then the 3 things you would like to aim to get in a room in a dementia unit is firstly a room that is sunny and warm and north facing. Secondly, that the room has a nice view that she can enjoy. And thirdly, that the room is close to the lounge so that then it's a shorter distance for her to walk when she needs to go to her bathroom, bedroom, when she needs to go to the toilet. So these 3 things are very important to try to achieve when you're choosing the room, so your mother can have a warm room with a view and a good location to be able to find the bathroom. Then her stay will be a lot more settled at the dementia unit. So to give you some examples of how this worked and how it didn't really work so well in a dementia unit for some residents in the facility, if the room doesn't work, you have to try your best to make it work. And an example of this, there was a woman that came into the unit. She was a lovely lady. She'd had about 7 daughters, and I think maybe she'd had 1 son as well, but certainly many daughters. They were very supportive initially, especially, not so much later on, I have to say, but for the first year they were supportive, and they set up her room really well because they needed to, because the room was a poor location. It was south facing, so it was dark, it was damp, it was cold, it had no view, just the view of a bank, and it was really one of the worst situations in the whole unit. But there was no vacancies, as is often the case. There was no chance of having a choice, and this was the only room available, so the family had to take it. But what they did, they actually worked, they really worked remarkably well with that room. First thing they did was they got a heater in the room, and they put a notice on the wall, have on all day and in the evening, and the temperature, so that took the cold off, it took the damp out of the room. That was the first thing. They brought in beautiful mohair rugs for the bed, lovely comfortable pillows, so she had a comfortable warm bed and light covering when she lay down in the day. She had a beautiful 2-seater sofa that both she and her daughter, whichever daughter was visiting, could sit down and have their favourite cappuccino, which they both liked to drink. And the other thing they did, which very few other relatives do in the rooms, but it made a big difference, was it was a beautiful tall lamp stand with a lovely big shade, 6-foot high lamp with a beautiful shade, like with tassels on it, used to. And 20-30 years ago, they were very much in vogue. And it had a nice sort of neon light, and they put it in the corner away so that it wasn't a tripping hazard. It was just by the Duchess there, just behind that. And it gave the most lovely ambient light compared to the semi-fluorescent light, hospital light, that the dementia resident units can have often, facilities. They had a really good glow to it. So, and then also the daughter was a florist. So she very regularly used to bring in beautiful big bouquets of fresh flowers. So that had a lovely fragrance as well as the beauty of it. So she didn't have the outside view, but she had the beautiful flowers to look at. So because of all these measures that the family put in place, it wasn't the right room, but they made it into the right room. And this can be done, and it needs to be done for residents if they're to have quality of life. There was another guy, a former sailor, who was at the unit, and his room wasn't really the right location either, because he had difficulty with direction orientation and finding his room. And it was right at the very end of the corridor. So he had to go through past 15 doors before he could find his own. And it took a lot of effort for him to be able to do that. It would have been much better if his room was nearer the nurse's station. But the family did direction orientation practice with him, so he could find his room, and they put his name in large letters on the door so that was solved eventually. But he was very fit and strong, and he found it absolutely dreadful that he couldn't get out and walk. And this facility didn't have outside space for walking, which for younger people really, it's so important for younger people especially who are fit and strong, men and women, to have somewhere to walk outside. But because the facility was upstairs with only a small veranda, he didn't have that chance of being able to do that. So the solution that the family came up with is their son. He actually used to come in every second day. He lived nearby, and he came in every second day to walk his father. That was the solution they came up with, and it was a really good one. And that stopped him from getting like that sort of compressed cabin fever that can happen with residents when they can't get out, especially if they've been used to the great outdoors. And he was a sailor and loved the sea and the fresh air and everything that goes with it. These people really need to get regular walking. So that family resolved this by the son coming in every second day, and if he couldn't come in, then the wife would come in. So there was never more than 2 days that this father went without, husband went without getting exercise outside. Then there was another woman who did actually have a lovely room. It was the right room, actually. It was north facing, sunny, good view, and she was mobile, so it didn't really matter where the location was, though it was fairly close to the lounge, so there was no problem with direction orientation. But she was a very busy lady. She'd been a dancer, and she'd done crochet and knitting and jigsaw puzzles and colouring in, and she was an artist, and anyway, she loved all sorts of handiwork was her thing. So to make things work for her, her daughter had brought in a massive range of handiwork and activities, all in plastic boxes labelled on a big bookcase. So every day she had at least 2 or 3 different activities which she could do, and which she did do. She'd take these boxes to the kitchen table and get out the colouring in and the pens and do that, or otherwise the jigsaw puzzles, do that. And she had another friend who she made, a male friend, who used to partly help her. And in this way she had a good quality of life because she kept up her activities as she did at home. So the room was right, but it was extra benefit was that the daughter brought in these activities so that the person could have her mother could have good quality of life. So it is often difficult to get the right room in a dementia unit. It is often difficult to even get into a dementia unit now because staff are so short, facilities are so short, dementia is increasing, we know that. So much of the time you can't get the right room, but you really need to look at it as best as you can, try and get the right room. But if you can't, then you need to come up with all these solutions I've suggested that other relatives have done to be able to make it right for the residents, so that if they can't walk outside, make sure they get regular walks at least every second day. If it's cold and south facing, bring in a heater. If it's uncomfortable, bring in nice bedding, etc., etc. Just sort of think through problem solution in terms of what your relative would like, appreciate and enjoy, and what you would actually appreciate, like and enjoy, to be able to live in a comfortable, warm, well-ventilated, well-lit environment. It really makes a difference for the person being able to settle in a dementia unit and have a quality of life. So these are the 2 books I've written, The Resident's Voice and The Resident's Rise, both from a dementia unit, both on Amazon. So if you like reading, they're there in terms of what's needed to go into a dementia unit with The Resident's Voice, and when you're in a dementia unit, things that can help in this book, The Resident's Rise. So thank you for your looks and your likes, and please subscribe. I appreciate that, and the comments coming in, and please pass on links for those that are affected by dementia and will benefit from these videos. Thank you.